Okay, everyone. So today on the podcast, I'm sitting in front of Melissa. We were just chatting about this off camera that we've been following and know each other for over 10 years, I think it is now. And when we meet in person, it's almost like you already know each other. But in this conversation, we're going to cover topics that I've been wanting to ask her forever. I literally went through all your reels and all your content for the last little while. And I'm like, the one thing I do love about you is that you make money so fun. And I see it now, even just in your personality, it feels very everyday, which I really like.
Good.
And I know that's part of your mission too, just to make it fun and whatnot. But I do want to introduce her officially. So in terms of titles and in terms of clout, we do want to focus on that because women listening on the show, we want you to grow your money. We want you to be wealthy. We want you to have wellness in your life. So Melissa is an award-winning author, financial expert on many different channels and different shows. She's a television personality and a fierce advocate for financial wellness with joy. So her book, which you guys might have heard of, is Happy Go Money. The term happy is what we're going to focus on, and money both together. Melissa blends psychology and money in a very refreshing and real way to help people spend smart, save right, and actually enjoy life. That's our focus, to really have a wealthy and happy life through money. Through her work in media, writing, and coaching, she empowers women to take control of their finances without sacrificing their happiness. Her social media shares incredible insight. She just posted about the tariffs, which I know you guys are all dying to hear about, but just in such a relatable, fun, and great way. She shares insight on the stock market and all of those things that I think women should really start investing in and knowing more about. So I can go on and on, Melissa, but we're just going to welcome you to the show. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's lovely. You're lovely.
How was that?
It was great. And since we just met 5 minutes ago physically, I feel already that we're more like besties. I'm like, oh, we're friends. We're good. Thank you.
That's the point. It's just a good conversation. Although I have so many questions for you, I just want to start off with where are you at? What's the energy like in this chapter of your life right now?
This is the chapter of my life that I am trying to, I'm not going to just show up on your podcast and start swearing, but this is the
Please do.
no F's given era.
We do. Okay.
I just turned 45 and I'm really tired of all the F's that I've given so much to so many things that really didn't matter. But life is sort of seen, what do they say? That your life is seen backwards. It's only understood when you look at it in reverse. And so, I'm just trying to move forward with some of the things that I've learned, including the no F's given. I'm now in my onesie era at the gym because I'm trying to eat protein and build weight and gain muscle. So I'm just wearing whatever I want, doing whatever I want.
No F's given.
Yeah.
Is there something that you find that you gave a fuck about that you don't anymore? That's screamed at you for the last little while? I can't believe I used to care about this so much, and honestly, it doesn't matter.
It's not that it doesn't matter, but I'm the eldest daughter of immigrants, and that people pleasing is so programmed into me. That's why I said yes to so many things. I used to justify my success with it's because I say yes. It's because that I am a people pleaser. I'm trying to go above and beyond, but at my own expense. And I don't need to do that so much. And that includes having conversations with my girlfriends about money. The most recent conversation I had with my girlfriends about money, which I encourage everybody, before the end of the day, before 24 hours has elapsed, have a money conversation with a friend. And the last one went like this. I told her, listen, I'm really trying to work on my people pleasing. I know you want to treat me for dinner today, but I cannot order what I want if you pay. So you have to let me pay for my half so that I will feel free to order the extra meal and to try this. And because if I know you're paying, I won't do it. Because so much of that is psychological. And that was just me being honest. And she said, Melissa, you have to work on letting me pay, letting other people treat you. And I said, I'm not there yet. That's a conversation about money and boundaries and expectations. It's not a conversation about how much money I make with my best friend. But, when you say that money is every day, our money is a part of our everyday lives. So why not talk about it?
Yeah, I was going to say this was part of my question because I was going to ask you, being someone that's in the financial expert, do you find that people do they get uncomfortable? Do women get uncomfortable around you? Do they expect that you're going to bring up money conversations? Have you had money conversations? What do they look like?
I think with my people, they know me. A lot of my friends actually don't have social media, so they know me in a capacity that's outside of being on the social or the Drew Barrymore show talking about money. And so many of the conversations that we have are natural, like, hey, we understand that each of us have taken our own journey. We're all different places in our lives. Some of us are still single. Some of us are going through IVF. Some of us are doing all these things. So we have different money goals. We have different money upbringings. And then we need to respect where each other is at. So we have those conversations. Hey, for my birthday, I wanted to go to the spa, but I understand that it's this much money. Or so-and-so is getting married. We want to go on a bachelorette to Vegas, but we do want to respect everybody's budgets, everybody's plans. And so-and-so is trying to save to pay off her debt. So let's support her and have an option where we don't, expect everyone to spend equal amounts of money. So yes, I do have a lot of money conversations with my friends from just a hypothetical standpoint. It's not like, hey, let's talk about our TFSAs and what's in it, but more, go out with a friend, and when you ask them a money question, ask them, hey, what would you do if you had $1 million tomorrow? What would you do with it? What is your biggest money worry right now? This is what I'm worried about. And hey, have you had the conversation with your parents about, their wills and their estates? Because my parents are getting older. I'm really stressed about talking about it. Have you had the conversation? What did you say? Just telling people where you're at.
Yeah, everyday conversations. It's so funny you say that, because I feel like if you were to go have a money conversation with a girlfriend, it almost feels like you need to start with like, so how much money do you make? How much do you have saved? But that's not the only money conversation. As simple as like breaking down, hey, let me pay for my meal so I can order whatever I want. I think I'm going to say that next time, because it is a thing. Like if you go out with your girlfriend and they offer to pay, all of a sudden you're like, I'm not going to order that appetizer that I was eyeing all day. And I'm not going to order that because you feel a little like, but those are great conversations to have. So I think you said that your parents were immigrants here when they first came here, right? Going back to that, how were you raised around money? And like, how did you even get into this field?
I love that question. And I think everybody should ask that question of themselves, of their loved ones, of their partners. What was your money story when you were growing up? Because that really informs who you are and how you are with money today. Very often, my friend Jessica Morehouse wrote this great book about the trauma of money. And there are many stories that you hold on to that affect how you behave today. And for me, my parents being, they were new immigrants. So we grew up with a scarcity mindset in the sense that you can't see my air quotes on the radio or on podcasts, but I say cheap, but my mom might say frugal. But that was the highest form of behavior. It was just, yay, you're cheap. That's amazing. Because they toiled at a restaurant. We owned one of the oldest Chinese restaurants in Winnipeg. It ran for 70 years. And so you would work so hard for that money. And so that means you had to work really hard to keep it. But that makes me very risk averse to this day. Oh. It makes me very, it makes me cheap with myself, because self-sacrificing is a virtue, which is why I'm trying to learn not to give an F so that I can enjoy and that I could treat myself. And that was also part of the journey of this book that I've written, was to try to find a way for money to actually make people happy, which it does.
Yeah,
to an extent.
Of course. Yes. Okay, so growing up like that, what did that teach you that served you, and what did that teach you that you had to unlearn? Because there's pros and cons to both, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
What I learned was very, very early on, pay yourself first was something that my dad tried to instill in me. He gave me a shoebox, and where's my piggy bank? What's up with this? It was a shoebox. He cut a slit into it. He wrote my name on it. Couldn't fit all of it, so it just said Melissa. And we would just, I would hoard. So if I got money from Chinese New Year, if I got money for my birthday, I'd stuff it in this box, and I wouldn't take it out for anything.
Do you think that is because the way he embedded that in you, right? Here's a shoebox, put money in there, and so you automatically as a child started doing that?
Yes. And he didn't tell me how to spend it, what to spend it on, what was valuable, how to make the decision, what was valuable. No one spoke to me about investing and how to make opportunities. And my dad continues to be very risk averse. And so that has trickled down into the way that I behave with money. And that's not making money and saving money. They are two separate skills, right?
Okay.
You have pro athletes who make a lot of money, but lots of stats about how that after they retire, some of them are in terrible financial situations. Again, two different skills. Making lots of money, saving it, different skill. But so I have the opposite. Saving money, I'm really good at that. The making money part, my husband's really good at that. So that requires, optimism, putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Taking risks with a business, with investing, with starting a business, right?
Yeah. So how did you become a financial expert? I mean, did you basically like after all this be like,
I was so cheap, they gave me an award, and then I parlayed that into a television
do you
career.
think that's just experiences navigating you to be like, this is the thing that I'm going to do? I mean, how do you even?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So then?
So I ended up, my original, I started in journalism. I ended up at the National Post, and there was, I was writing about arts and life, and they were I had written about business before at the Toronto Star and other places, but when they downsized my department, they moved me to the Financial Post, and I was crestfallen. I didn't know anything about business. The first day on the job, I was part of this conference call, and I couldn't figure out why they were talking about candy because I'd never heard of M&As before, like mergers and acquisitions. But I was like, M&Ms? What is happening on this call?
How old were you at this time?
I don't
20s?
even remember.
It was a long time ago.
But I eventually got moved to the personal finance beat. And I realized when I started writing those stories was that money is the story of our lives. Money is just a tool, and we use it to create the life that we want. As human beings, there are a lot of things that we do as part of instinct, that's part of nature. We compare, we covet, we compete with each other. We look at our peers and see what they've bought, what they're buying, what they're building, with how they're building their lives. And we do things that we feel that are similar. There's a consuming instinct, the idea that if we consume these things, if we need to survive, to compete for resources in order to thrive, there's a lot of that embedded. And that's money. Paying for your wedding, paying for preparing for a family, buying a house, retiring, estate planning, all different phases of life that require money. And I realized that I got into journalism in order to communicate information, stories, and to share people's point of views. And I realized, oh my goodness, I went into this industry to make an impact, and there is no greater impact that you can make on somebody's well-being and happiness than to help them understand their own money stories and their own money motivations and their own money behaviors, and to help them make conscious choices with that money.
And that's where your journey started. And that was through that was through writing.
That was through, I was the personal finance reporter at the Financial Post. That's how that started.
Oh, wow. And then, I mean, I saw you at the Drew Barrymore show. I saw you at The Social. How long have you been on television for?
So I was on The Social on their very first week, which was 11 years ago.
Wow.
And so I have had the gift of being the resident money expert on that show for 11 years. And that's really a privilege to be able to talk about all kinds of topics that people hopefully have taken in, maybe at the dentist's office or when they were on a treadmill, but hopefully some of it has seeped into their lives and made them think a little bit more about their finances.
Yeah, made a difference in their life in some way.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your book, okay? Because I know you blend psychology and money together. So first of all, how do those two pieces have you seen from your experiences deeply relate that people are unaware of, right? Because I think as someone that interacts with money every day, day to day. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, making transactions. money is just separate, right? In terms of psychology and blending those together and making decisions that are a little bit more informed, or thinking about it like that is not something that we're taught, and not something you think about on a regular basis when you're paying for your groceries or whatnot.
Right.
So how do you tie that into your book?
So I feel really passionately about this.
I could tell.
I'm going to try not to go. I mean, I could talk about this for hours,
I
and I'm
do
not
want
going
you-
to. But there is an entire field devoted to behavioral economics, to neuroeconomics. Basically, what you know about money is not always what you do. So there is, okay, I challenge people to think about the last 3 unplanned purchases that they made. What did you buy just on the spur of the moment? You just weren't planning it. What did you buy? How did you feel about it? Why did you buy it? Am I putting you on the spot? Are you going to?
It's funny. Can I, instead of myself, I'm just going to look at this from the outside, because I was with a client yesterday and they came in to see a home that they had no, intention of buying in terms of an investment property. Okay. And she's like, I'll just come meet you. And it's funny because like I was observing as a person that brought them in here, and they were husband and wife. And by the end of it, they're like, yeah, we're just going to do it. And I was like, I was thinking about this. I'm like, did you come in thinking that you're going to walk away signing a piece of paper saying you're buying an investment property? So I wonder, and the same thing happened to me when we bought our first home. I don't think me and my husband thought about this, and what a huge decision to not have thought about it. And that's at a macro level, but on a micro level, yeah, I think just the other day I wasn't planning on doing a Mother's Day brunch. I went to the Italian store and ended up spending $200 on a Mother's Day brunch that I wasn't planning.
But there's a story that you tell yourself in your head about why this Mother's Day brunch is the thing to do right now. You're so deserving of it, or something. And so one of the things that I would use as an example, and there are so many examples that I'd love to talk to you about, but one of the things that is most relevant to me in my life right now is, I think we've used retail therapy as this throwaway line, but there's so much underneath retail therapy. When we think about money as a tool, some people use money as a tool to alleviate pain. And that pain could be boredom, that pain could be stress. It's a stress reliever, because when you spend money and you get something new, you do get a dopamine burst in your brain. There are chemicals that are being flowed through your body that temporarily make you feel good. And so asking yourself what you use money to do in your life, whether that means that you are feeding some sort of stress or some sort of insecurity. Some people think, well, I'm going to pick up the check because you're people pleasing. You want them to like you. So I'm going to pick up the check. It means something to me to pick up the check. I'm going to buy the suit because it's going to make me more confident for this podcast that I'm doing tomorrow morning. You're telling yourself a story about why you're.
Can I ask you a question to interrupt right there? Are most people making decisions from that place all the time?
I think we operate on autopilot, out of survival. It's I had this. I had the gift of interviewing Daniel Kahneman, who's a Nobel Prize-winning economist and psychologist, and he pioneered a lot of this research, the thinking fast and slow, about a lot of these decisions that we make are in the moment on autopilot, because it's so hard to be driving anywhere and thinking, okay, exactly, turn left, to be fully engaged. Your brain cannot be doing all those things. And so, yes, a lot of financial decisions are made. I'm tired. I just got off work. I am not cooking, right?
Yesterday.
I'm just going to Uber Eats, or I'm just going to walk into the grocery store and emotionally buy whatever's on the hot shelf, right? Like there are a lot of moments that require you to do the planning beforehand, which is an entire chapter of my book where listen, trying to make that decision moment to moment of, is this a good financial decision for me? What are the long-term repercussions of this this purchase that I'm making? Should I buy this latte? That's really difficult in the moment. I'm busy. I have children. I'm tired. I'm running on fumes sometimes. And to make these really difficult financial decisions is taxing. And so there are things you can do, however, to make those moments way easier.
Tell me about those, because that's what I was just going to ask you. That seems like an everyday hurdle. And to plan around consciously what decision to make, does that require sitting down every month and thinking about what to do next, or how to spend your money? How can we apply that to day-to-day life? And I want to go back to the psychology of money, because that's really interesting to me for you to explain. And I want some more context there. So in your book, can we go back to psychology and money? So most of our decisions are being run on autopilot. And our money stories going back to our families and how we grew up play a huge part. What else have you covered in the book that would be really useful for today's decision?
I would love to talk about why we think buying something will make us happy.
Okay.
Because that's what the book is about. There's a journey that we take where, obviously, we're all just trying to be happy. This is what drives us. We want our families to be happy. We want to be happy. And again, money is just something you use to get that kind of happiness. But we tell ourselves a story about how much money will make us happy, the optimal level of salary that people need to make to be happy. There's been lots of researchers who've chased that magic number. And so I'd love to talk about that. And I do want to get back to some practical things that people can do to make all of this less overwhelming. Because
I'm overwhelmed.
You know what? That honestly doesn't serve us. Sometimes I get really angry at some of the personal finance advice and information that's been given over the years that is not serving to women, not serving BIPOC women especially. You're not addressing how some women take time off of work, and the stats that reveal that if you take time off to raise families, you make a lot less money. Just your earning potential, you're being affected. They don't. It's gender blind, it's color blind, and it sometimes seems overwhelming needlessly. And I think, why are you doing this? Why are you making this seem so overwhelming? And then trying to pit it on women, saying, hey, you have a confidence problem. Women have a confidence problem. That's why they're not taking charge of investing and this and that. And I think, is it a confidence problem sometimes? Or am I just reflecting what reality is showing me currently in this society? This is a total tangent. I'm so sorry.
No.
But
I
just
love
the
this
idea of the
conversation.
imposter syndrome. It's really, I feel like an imposter because of my own insecurity. It's not because women and women of color have not been invited to the tables. It's not because all of your events around investing are golf tournaments and centered around, bro culture. And
very true.
And so I just don't think it's been as inclusive. So if you kind of sometimes feel, man, I've been really left out of this, I feel out of my element, listen, you are not alone. Other women are not alone, but we are in this together now, and we are trying to do what we can to help each other. And that's why I say, have a conversation with your girlfriends. Have the money conversation, because we are all going to help each other rise. But going back to the amount of money, how much money do you think people need to make to be optimally happy?
Well, I mean, I was reading the stats and looking, you need an average of like almost a $200,000 salary in order to pay your bills, go out for lunch, go out for dinner, and be able to just say, I'm okay.
As a two couple?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to distinguish between, because some people say, happy, what's happy? The research distinguishes happy in two ways. The first is day-to-day happiness, basically how I feel right now, sitting with you, happy. And then life satisfaction. So the stat that you brought up is more tied to life satisfaction. To be satisfied with your life, single family household, pre-tax, US, is about $95,000. When it comes to day-to-day happiness, how you feel in the moment, that's closer to, say, 60 to 70, somewhere around that range. This is just an average. But what it's trying to show you, and it could have changed given all of the costs and rising costs of late and uncertainty with tariffs. But what it's really trying to say is you need to be able to sleep and eat indoors You want to have a certain amount of money so that you feel that you're taken care of, that you have opportunities, that you're safe. But then any more money above those thresholds is actually associated with a decrease in happiness.
Oh, wow. Why?
So there are many hypotheses about why this would be, but it absolutely makes sense. So once I start listing them, you're going to start to nod and think, oh my gosh, yes. So maybe you're making more money, which means you're working more. Maybe you're taking more time away from your family and friends. Maybe you have less flexibility to do things you actually care about, like getting to the gym, like going to your garden or puttering about, whatever that is. Maybe you are starting to focus more on material goods because now you're making more money and now you're focused more on keeping up with the Joneses. That is also associated with a decrease in happiness. And then you're comparing, and then you're stressed, and then so many things. So
That's deep.
it's a possibility that, yes.
So where's the line? Where's the happiness and the money coming together? Does that mean we should only be aiming to make a certain amount to keep that happiness level at par? And if you are making more money, how are you increasing your levels of happiness? Where's the...
So I'm going to give I'm going to give two responses to that hopefully one is more tangible and actionable. And then the other one is more something that requires a little bit deeper thought on a reflection. It requires reflection. So the first reflection piece is the studies show that no matter what you have, you will want more. This is when we go back to psychology, people who understand the hedonic treadmill will understand that. All that means is you have a baseline and you kind of return back to that baseline. So there have been studies of paraplegic individuals, people who had survived an accident versus lottery winners. They found that a lot of their happiness levels were similar because there would be the event, the lottery win or the accident, but they would return back to this baseline of happiness. And it was the accident survivors who actually enjoyed the little things in life more than those who had won the lottery. There are studies where they ask people, how much money do you need to be a perfect 10 on the happiness scale? And I put that to the listeners. Think about it. Where are you on that scale? And how much more money do you need on your paycheck or in your bank that would make you a perfect 10 right now? And the sad part is that a researcher out of Harvard did this survey. He did it with high net worth income earners. He did it with middle income earners. Everybody said 2 to 3 times. So it actually didn't matter. Didn't matter. If you had $1 million in the bank, you wanted 3. But if you had 3, you wanted 9. So it's like a moving pot of gold that you're constantly trying to chase. So the reflection piece is, it's hard to grasp the concept of, oh, well, I'm always going to want more than what I have. Because whatever you have, you get bored of. It becomes kind of status quo. And our brains, we like novelty. We like new. That's how you make new memories, right? That's what you remember. So the reflection piece is a constant gratitude exercise of what is it that I'm actually grateful for? What do I like about what I have now? That's great. And what are the 3 things that I value most in my life? What are those things? Is it health? Is it time with my family? Because if it's time with my family, I have $200 extra left over from blank. Should I spend it on this thing that I saw in the window of a store? Or should I put it aside so that I could fly to see my family in Winnipeg sooner? Because a lot of times in the moment, I'm buying that thing in the store. And then when I look back on my bank statements, I realize there's a lot of stuff in here that is actually not in line with my values. Accumulating more stuff is actually not in line with my values for myself or for the world. But we do it. We get caught up, right?
Well, especially now, or as you call retail therapy, consumerism, how do you detach from that or become better with thoughtfully thinking about not to buy that thing versus flying out to you? And I think that ties into your concept of buying happiness. Can you talk about that, please?
Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 practical things to do to help with that. But going back, I said I would give you 1 reflection piece and then 1 practical piece. And the practical piece is pay attention to lifestyle creep. So
Lifestyle
creep. So as you make more money, what happens is you generally tend to spend more money. So mindfully, and remind your friends this, tell your girlfriend, yeah, you got a raise, good for you. Let's go and, celebrate with a walk in the park
Yeah.
and whatever it is. But remember, maybe we can, Melissa Leong talked about lifestyle creep on the podcast. So for whatever money you're getting more of, or if you're getting a bonus, put it away right away. So set an automatic transfer of the difference of your raise into a savings account. So you don't get accustomed to having the extra money and then spending it, right?
Yeah.
Because you were fine before.
Yeah.
So now that you have a raise,
It is a creep
and it's insidious because you don't notice it.
No, not at all. It's almost like as soon as you get it, you're like, okay, I've got more, so let's go do more and buy more.
Sure, but that's fine if you've decided, hey, it's given me the resources to do the things that I care about. I've decided that I care about these things. So yes, I have more money to build the life that I want, but I don't think people are conscious about it. I think they get it, and then it just kind of leaks. Like the money just disappears. I find that very common when I talk to my friends, and when I talk to people or talk to readers or viewers or people who comment on social media. The money just goes. Everything is so expensive, it feels. And so 3 things to try to combat that. The consuming instinct, the weight of capitalism that influences our every move. And you've already done that reflection piece. You've already done this is the stuff that I care about, right? So the first one is clarity. You can't make better decisions if you don't know what you're doing. You can't understand what's happening unless you turn on the lights. So a lot of people me too, we get caught up in the day-to-day and we don't realize where the money is going. So I'm not calling it a budget because that freaks people out.
I was just going to say.
And it's not a budget. It's just, hey, how about you just look back at your bank account statements over at least just the last month, just to see, oh man, you signed up for this random app on Instagram or for Instagram and you forgot about it and now it's charging you monthly. That's something to be mindful of. Or you realize, oh, wait a minute, I spent money on this. That didn't bring me joy, or I spent money on this and that wasn't in line with my values. It's just getting clarity and realizing that, oh, you know what? I'm actually spending more money than I made last month. Something to keep in check. Wow, I didn't realize this, but my credit card statement came and I'm realizing that my payments have gone up, but that's because I missed a payment and they've actually increased my interest rate. So it's just looking. So that's number 1.
Every month?
Not every month. I just think that sometimes I do it as a reset where I think, oh, it was Black Friday. I think I got carried away or maybe it was the summertime and my garden, I got, excited with gardening. And after periods of time where you feel like you've spent a lot, maybe say after Christmas, it's always good to do an audit of yourself.
Melissa, can I just say, you make this seem it gives me a good feeling talking to you about this. I've had other money experts and I talk to many experts. I would consider myself in the same industry now, being in real estate and wanting to, but there's something about the way that you're just sharing information. I want you to know that on, off camera, it's very refreshing. It feels, especially as a woman, and I want to ask you some more questions, but I'm going to let you continue.
Thank you for the compliment.
I just really wanted to
I think we should be more generous with the roses that we give to people. So I love that. Thank you.
I just wanted to share that. It feels great.
But I'm very open to feedback. So
we'll talk about that.
So if there's something that you think I'm feeling gross about this, then
no. So
I
clarity,
would like to reframe.
I also really like what you just said. Like, most people would say, look at where you spent money and then ask yourself, like, did I have to buy that? Did I not? But what you said were 2 words that I wrote down here. It's, did this bring me joy? Was this aligned with my values? Because I think for women specifically, if I was to ask myself those questions when I spent something, or even if I'm doing my budget or looking at my monthly statement, that would be so much more impactful and that I can continue to do. it will last versus every month I reset. But I think it's allowing me to ask deeper questions and get better with money, but from a standpoint that feels really good to me. So I wrote that down because I think I'm going to ask those two questions when I do my budget.
Good. I think sometimes people say, do you need this? You don't need this. And sometimes we tell ourselves stories about what we need and don't need. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is a little bit more.
It's a really nice question to ask.
It's a little bit more, listen, taking care of your finances, I believe for women is part of self-care.
Yeah.
It's a part of you putting yourself first. You matter. You deserve to put money aside for you. And the money is for you to choose. It's for you to choose. I'm not trying to tell people, don't shop, don't this. It's really, if we talk about financial empowerment, it's you have the power to choose. Let me give you some information so that you can choose for yourself what is best. Personal finance is personal. So don't let anybody tell you what you should or should not be doing with your money. I mean, we all make mistakes with money. That's a part of the journey. It's up to you to figure out, I didn't have to spend on that last month, or to realign. Or I should have a conversation with my husband about how we split blank, blank, blank. Like it's a constant conversation to be having with yourself and with others. And so that's number one. The second is, because of that comparison part, that's really natural. I think we're really hard on ourselves for that, but that's so normal. Before we'd look at our neighbors, there's weird stats out there. There's weird research that shows if you live next to somebody who's won the lottery, you as the neighbor are more likely to go bankrupt within a few years of this person's lottery win. Wow. More likely than, say, the average neighbor. That's because you are looking out your window and seeing your neighbor buy a new car, renovate the yard, bring in visible assets that you think, it changes your perception about what is normal to have. And that's happening on social media. So it's not just your neighbor. The Kardashians are your neighbor. You're looking constantly at everybody else's curated lives at all stages. So in the pandemic, I was very susceptible to that, and I was in a bad place. So I was using retail therapy. I told myself a story. I told myself I was supporting businesses. I told myself that I was sending love to family and friends in the form of shoes and onesies.
They often think like just because you're a financial expert that it's something that you're just, really, really great at, but you're also a human. So you're also have valid,
That's the psychology piece,
yeah.
Right? It's the part where I'm fallible and we make mistakes. And so I realized that, and I said, I need to fix this. And so I did the clarity piece. I did the breaking things down. I had already done that pre-pandemic because my husband and I were self-employed, so we needed to figure out how much runway we had, which is that's the biggest lesson from my book that I hope to carry forward. So please ask me about that afterwards.
The self-employed piece?
The biggest piece that means the most to me from my book.
Okay.
What I hope everybody will appreciate after listening to this, and I hope that this makes the biggest difference when it comes to their finances and being successful. But going through your social media and actively choosing what you see. So the algorithm is really smart, and deciding if it reflects who you are, not only who you are, but who you want to be. And I didn't want to be somebody who was reacting to things. I was really trying to double down on, I admire so many women. I really need to figure out what exactly I admire about them, which is their traits. I admire their tenacity. I admire, yes, they have beautiful vacations, but I actually admire the creativity and the hard work that they put into getting that rather than the actual thing. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to appreciate the journey and not appreciating the thing.
Yeah.
And so I gave myself social media detox. I started unsubscribing for emails. So being mindful about what you follow, who you follow, and how much time you spend.
How did you do that piece?
So I took a break from social media. I also started to curate what I saw. So I would just unfollow things. I started to like things that I felt were more in line with my values. I started to save things that were more in line with my values. And it did change the algorithm. So I was seeing less things that made me feel, you know when you're lying in bed at night, you feel kind of icky when you're looking at something.
Yeah.
Or, and then the last thing I would say, the third piece that's practical is Retailers call it frictionless transactions.
Okay.
From the time that you see something and the time that you buy it, they want that time to be as short as possible. That's why you have one-click buy. That's why you have auto renew. That's why you have sign up and guess what? You're gonna have to unsubscribe because that takes an extra step. They don't want that. And we don't want that, we think, for convenience. But it's not good for us because brains don't work that way. We need time to figure out the repercussions of our actions. So anytime you want to buy something, I send a WhatsApp message to my friends. Do you like this? What do you think of this outfit? I leave something in my shopping cart for 24 hours. You walk away from a home purchase. You need time. Just go for a walk around. Walk around the block. Even if you just walk around the block, just give yourself some time.
It leaves, right? Like that feeling leaves. It disconnects for a bit, and then you're able to just...
But it just gives you time. That's what your brain needs to consider.
Very practical.
And then you can use tools that behavioral psychologists behavioral economists that have recommended. So, for example, using either or language. So instead of saying, should I buy this or not? You will be more successful with your choices if you say, should I buy this or should I save that $100 in cash for something else? You need an alternative because that's all life is. It's
like that.
Choices. And it's not a choice of this or nothing. It's a choice of this or something else. If you think, well, what am I going to do with that $200? I can give you so many things to do with that $200 because you think, well, whatever. It's in the moment, it makes me happy. But the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the biggest lesson from my book, is something called future happiness that we are disassociated from.
Talk about that.
So the reason why I wrote my book is I had been going back and forth with some publishers about writing a personal finance book, but nothing ever clicked. And then my husband became very unwell. So we had just gotten married, and it was just a couple months. We just moved into a new home, and he just started not sleeping, really. And that just spiraled into depression and anxiety, and it was a terrible time in our lives. And I, being a type A personality, thought, I'm going to be happy for both of us. Don't worry. I'll figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And I was a journalist at the time, so I thought I will research the crap out of this. So I went to Buddhist temples. I flew to resilience, wellness retreats. I interviewed retired monks and celebrity psychologists and read every article and every research paper I could find on the study of happiness and positive psychology. And I was very cognizant of the fact that nobody actually was talking about money. They were saying, oh, you need some anti-inflammatory mood-boosting diets. You need gratitude journals and affirmations. But nobody was talking about the money piece. But when I looked around, everybody was just using money as a way to try to be happier. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to combine everything that I learned about happiness during that time and everything that I know about money into this book. And what I found writing that book was the thing that I'm most grateful for to this day, because it keeps coming up over and over and over again. I didn't realize that the book would become a guide for me again and again, is that we're trying to secure our current happiness, but we need to protect our future happiness. So there was life before my husband was unwell, and then there was life during, but then there was life after. And you need money for all of those parts. Like you think, oh, I'm just going to get the money. It's going to be happily ever after. But if you're lucky, there's just more after and then more after, right? Sometimes I think things are good right now, but maybe, and I'm not saying this to scare people. I'm not saying this to be, oh, Melissa, you're such a Debbie Downer. This is reality, that maybe right now is the before. And you need money for the after. You need money for the after because it gives you choices. That's what you want. You want to be happy today, but you want your future self to be happy as well. she deserves that. Like, I do a lot of exercises now where I write letters to my child self, or I write a letter to myself 10 years from now. And it connects me to all of those parts. And it makes me realize that Melissa 10 years ago would want Melissa today to have more choices, to have more opportunities. Because if I didn't structure my money in a certain way, maybe when the hard times came, I wouldn't have been able to focus on what really mattered. And what mattered was my husband getting better, and also me having the space to take care of myself, because having to deal with hardships in life, whether that be job loss, whether that be illness, whether that be the loss of a loved one, you don't want to be worrying about your debts. You don't want to be worrying about not making your mortgage payments. You don't want to be worrying about, well, I have to do this. You want to just live and focus on the things that you care about, right?
I find that it's very true. That's a huge reflection on your end, even something for me to think about. And it's true. I think about this all the time. Why am I working so hard now? It's great to have a good lifestyle now, but what does that allow me to do in the future? It's a hard question to ask because there's so many scenarios that you don't want to think about. You don't want to think about losing your partner. You want to think about maybe not having a job. You don't want to think about all of those things, so then people just don't do them. Do you find that it's an avoidance issue?
I actually find it's very human. The research supports, even though, I can be a Debbie Downer, as some people say, but that's because I worked in news, and there's a lot of bad news that ends up in the paper. But human beings are very optimistic. Okay. So the science around that is that even studies of towns that have been hit by tornadoes, if you ask them, so what do you think the chances of you being injured in a future tornado? People were like, oh, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, we're very optimistic.
And then as time goes on, people forget about the bad thing that happened and say, oh, no, we're going to be great. Things are going to be great. Everything's going to be totally fine. We are very bad at projecting what might happen in the future, very good at thinking, well, things are going to go like this. It's hard to imagine the drop off the cliff. You just it's easier to be like, well, I'm walking on the beach. It's going to be fine. You don't anticipate swells or anything like that. So if you can't do it because you think, oh, I'm just trying to avoid the negative stuff and I don't want to think about that stuff and I don't want to bring bad mojo, whatever it is, guess what? You and everybody else, right? But also a part of psychology is that we think of our future selves as strangers, which is why I do that exercise, to imagine myself 10 years from now, to write myself 10 years from now a letter, to talk to myself from 10 years ago. I had somebody ask me to do an exercise, and the exercise was to put a picture of myself as a kid on my phone just for a week and see how that made me feel. And it's still there. So
I saw, actually.
Yeah, somebody was like, is that your daughter? Is that you? I'm like, that's me.
No, that's me. So what did that do? How did you feel seeing that? You still have it.
It makes you have more compassion and empathy for yourself in the past, but also project it out to the future, and currently.
I feel like I would be like, she deserves more.
Yes, but also you today deserve more, right? You deserve more empathy. You deserve more grace. And so it attaches me to my future self, which a lot of studies show that we see them as absolute strangers, right? There's these weird studies where they say, would you give, they say, would you give this gross concoction of something nasty to drink, like some soy sauce ketchup mix, to this stranger? And you would give the same amount to a stranger as you would to your future self. You're just like, I don't want it right now. That's nasty. But my future self, yeah, they'll have a lot more. That's why you need to do those exercises. Yeah. That's why those images that you see of yourself aged actually cause you to save more money.
I have so many questions for you, but I want to focus on a couple of things. So number one, I think money and women and happiness. If a woman's listening to this podcast right now, she's inspired, motivated to be like, okay, I really want to get intentional. I want to think about my money and I want my future self to be well. And I'm sure you get asked this question all the time. Knowing all that you do now, today, and the reflection that you've had, the future self, and going through COVID and realizing what you need to work on, where would you tell someone to start? Where would you tell a woman to start? Because there's a lot of advice around, okay, invest, think about growing your money, think about working really hard and work on that business and there's so many different pools of advice. But if we were to take the psychology of happiness and long-term happiness, where you are well, your family's taken care of, you feel good, it's not necessarily make more money, but the idea around having a beautiful, great life as you continue to prosper. And all that piece that you said, I blended psychology, I blended money, and then I went and researched, and I found happiness didn't necessarily have money attached to everything. Where would you tell someone to start on their journey?
So I would start in, say, 3 places. The first is starting with asking some of the questions that we've talked about today, which is, what is it exactly that I want to build in this life? What's important to me? That's the value piece. And part of that asking questions is, where am I currently now? Which is taking stock. So this is something that anybody can do. I'm not telling you to go and open up an account with an online discount brokerage and telling you exactly what ETFs to get, right? We're not getting that complicated. Right now, we are just starting with easy, which is ask yourself some questions and look at where you are. So that means looking at your bank statements. Where are you currently funneling your money? Where are you behind? Where are the places that you are currently struggling and wish you had more of? Do you have a surplus when it comes to how much money is coming in and how much money is going out? If you don't know some of those questions, if you've decided that maybe your partner is going to deal with more of those questions and you have decided, I'm not paying attention, I'm not looking, or that's his or her realm and it's not my realm, I would challenge that. I would look. I would ask. So ask yourself more questions, and then find the answers to those questions. Easy, right?
That's easy.
Establishing a net worth. You need a base point. If you were going to go on a health journey, you would say, okay, where am I now? How much weight can I lift? And you would write it all down. And then hopefully a month from now, you'll see that you've put on more weight on your barbell. So for example, add up everything that you own, subtract your debts, and you're going to end up with your net worth. No one's going to see your net worth. You don't have to wear it on a t-shirt. This is just for you as a benchmark. You can include your real estate. You can include your house if you want, or you cannot. It doesn't matter. The point is that you're just trying to get a number from where you're going to build wealth. And the second thing I wanted to say is, wherever you start in your journey in building wealth, just know that if you don't think you are where you need to be, it's totally okay, because I love how Morgan Housel, who wrote this amazing book that everybody should read called The Psychology of Money, he says that wealth is hidden. Wealth is what you don't see. And I love that analogy because it makes you think, well, if you make $1 million, you spend $1 million, you have nothing. You're not a millionaire. So wealth, to me, is something that is built slow and steady. And no matter where you are in your journey, when it comes to your finances, you can start. And the rules of personal finance are really simple. Sometimes I go to conferences mostly males will come up to me and they'll say, "What's your hot stock tip?" Or "Let's talk about Forex trading or crypto or something." And they ask about what the formula for success is, and it's make more than you spend, and then regularly, no matter what is happening in the market, invest the surplus. Slow and steady wins the race.
I was just going to get to that. What a simple formula.
What simple? What do you mean?
I said that's such a simple formula.
Oh, yeah, that is a simple formula. Yes, people think it's like, and this is the beginning of a journey. So if you wanted to pick up that book, if you wanted to pick up my book, it just slowly feeds this machine that you're building with time, but you have to get there. And so maybe one of the very first things you're going to do for yourself is, slow and steady, build wealth, slow and steady. I can do that. What's important to me is building an emergency fund, because what you said about protecting your future happiness resonates with me. So I'm just going to make sure that I have a certain amount of money, 2-3 months worth of living expenses in an easily accessible place. I'm going to build that first. That might be one of your goals. That's on your way to building your wealth, protecting yourself, thinking of your future. Maybe the next is, I also want to tackle my debts. And you're going to do that. You're going to list them. You're going to maybe pay off the smallest ones, because that gives you a little bit of motivation. If you want to be the most mathematically powerful, then you're going to pay off the ones with the highest interest rate, maybe your credit card. Maybe your goal is to start saving regularly in your TFSA, or maybe you realize, you know what, my company has a matching program and I've been leaving money on the table, so I'm really going to get into that. Then you're going to start putting aside money before you spend it. So just automatic. Just set it. Don't worry about it. And then set a calendar reminder to bump it up, because maybe you haven't noticed, which means you need to bump up how much money you're putting away on the side.
It's practical, simple.
Yes. And on that journey, you will learn about extra things. You will learn about your RSP. You'll learn about the first-time home buyers.
But also
program,
when
right?
it's growing and you're doing the work, you're more motivated to learn and educate and do better. It's a start, right? Because when you're hiding and you're not doing anything about it, it's just constant worry and
you're just talking to people. You're starting to, because you're starting to get into it, and you can talk to your friends. I have women who are, I remember this conversation. We were out for drinks somewhere, and we were all in our late 30s, and one of my girlfriends was on track to be a VP, and it was all very exciting. We were celebrating. And then for some reason, somebody got into a conversation about how you could top up your mortgage payments. And the other women at the table were like, you can? And it became this entire conversation about trying to pay off your mortgage faster. And it was amazing. It's just this random conversation that if you just bring it up.
Yeah. And we're not taught to talk about these things amongst us women either, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of...
It's a new conversation coming to surface. I noticed that for myself, being in my 40s now, like talking to my girlfriends, it's nice and exciting, because I think now in our 40s, we have a little bit more confidence to talk about it. But if I go back to my 20s and 30s, I don't think I ever had a conversation about money with my girlfriends. And I think it would have been so, so nice to be able to have that. So I am encouraging that more in my household and with my girlfriends, because once you talk about it, it's kind of like it feels like nothing. It's like, why didn't we talk about this before?
I think people are afraid of a judgment. I think it's taboo in a lot of cultures. I think that there's this ick factor with talking about how much you make. And people also feel, oh, they're going to judge me because I'm blank, 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 or maybe she's going to think I'm cheap, or maybe she's going to think they're materialistic. There's so many things attached to it besides just dollars and cents, as you know. But just putting it out there your female relationships are so powerful and so important, especially as I get older. I realize how important they are. And you're looking for symmetry in those relationships. So you want this person to echo. You're like, oh, I'm feeling this. And the other person's like, me too, I'm feeling that too. So sometimes I just put things out there because I don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And we're not. So
yeah. I wanted to ask you some more questions about, where we're at now. People are really feeling the constraints, the stress. I know you just took a big sigh, but since we are being real and practical, I think it's important. I mean, there's a stage where I like you talk about, if you're starting out, and for any of you listening, there's the clarity portion that Melissa just talked about. So, that's where everyone should start. And I feel like a lot of people now, with the education and tools we have, are getting there. Then there's the part of growing your money. And then there's a part of keeping your money. And then there's lifestyle in between. For the conversations that I've had with a lot of people in the last 2 years, there is definitely a lot of struggle and a lot of fear and unknown. And I know you share a lot of that on your socials. I really appreciate that. But specifically for women that are feeling that pressure, their jobs, from trying to keep up with the mortgage to not having any extra funds, how can we not survive, but how can we eloquently keep up for the next little while? Where should we be more careful? What are some advice around the heaviness of what everyone is feeling right now with the economy and the uncertainty?
I think it's okay to.
Like, should I be saving? Should I just not spend my money?
You said a word there that I was attached to, where you said, should I, like, how do I keep up? Is what you said. And what I was going to say was, it's okay to not keep up. It's okay to feel like you are going to live less than how you did, because everybody is in, we're all in the same storm, but we're all in different boats, so we're going to feel it differently. But if you feel like your boat is taking in a lot of water, if you feel like you can't manage this, I would say that's okay. It's okay to draw back. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice something for a period of time, and tell yourself it's okay. I've had this happened in the pandemic, where a lot of people came to me and said, this is what I've had to give up just so that my family might have a little bit more security. We didn't know what would happen with my jobs, so we actually made huge sacrifices. And everyone's going to look at their own life and figure out where they can cut back. I can't tell you where that might be. One of my friends decided to drop from 2 cars to 1 car. That was really hard for them. They have 2 kids, lots of programming. But then they were like, well, pandemic, not a lot of these things are happening, so let's do that, save. And they never actually went back to 2 cars. They just got used to that lifestyle of trying to manage, you take 1 kid, you drop off, the other kid has to come sit in the car, But whatever that looks like for you, if that looks like not saving as much, which is a lot of people are doing now, actually, they are still trying to manage to make some of their debt payments, but they're just not saving the way that they did before. That might mean putting off things that you were really looking forward to. I know in my household, we are having those conversations right now about what do we have planned that we need to pause just for a while, because both my husband and I are self-employed. So we had a family trip planned in September that I've said, I don't think that we should take it, even though we've planned it for a year with another family. And that's a privileged place to be, to say, oh, I'm not taking my family vacation. In other households, it looks totally different. And I would just say to have grace. If you have space to put money aside, I'm not saying sell things to get cash, but if you can make extra money in some place, or if you have any surplus, cash will help float you through difficult periods.
I really like that advice. That's great to say it's okay temporarily. We've done that in our household. I think it's going back to the lifestyle that you might have had 2-3 years ago, to be like, it's okay. Maybe not this year. We can reconsider. It's not forever.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not forever. I'm not going to do, I know somebody who said, you know what? Whenever I was driving places, I would pick up a passenger via Uber, just temporarily, just to make some extra cash. I know people who said, we're going to forego camps this year for our kids. Other people are making sacrifices in different places. Some people just said, you know what, I'm going to just get really granular with my finances. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to cancel subscriptions that I think that I can go without for a little while. I'm going to call my banks and say, hey, I know you have some other credit cards that have, they don't have all the bells and whistles, but they have a lower interest rate and I need some help paying my debt down, making phone calls to your insurance company, different places like, hey, how can I save? Do you have any ways that I can save? I've called my cell company, my telecommunications company, and said, do you have a plan that's actually cheaper than what I have now? Hey, with no voicemail or something. Be surprised
how many extra dollars you can save just by doing that.
Just here and there, and where you save, you immediately allocate that to something. Otherwise, it's going to get lost. Yeah, so every month taking some time to tangibly talk about, okay, let me look at my money situation and what can I do better? Or talking with your family members, talking with your partner, and even my sons. Like, I talk to them about it all the time. Bo wanted a whole set of Minecraft books that I looked up online, and I said, these are $50. Like, Bud, let's look at the library first. And when we couldn't find them at the library, I said, let's try to sell some things. We have so many things. Maybe we can sell some things, just so that he has an idea too, that we're all working together to get the things that we want. Yeah. I'm also hoping he forgets about it. Maybe he'll forget. I don't know. He's been asking for 2 weeks. So.
Okay, let's move over before we end our episode. Let's move over to, I know you talk a lot about what can you spend money on that will really like be rewarding?
Mm.
And for women listening, and let's say they're cutting down, they're trying to make that extra cash. We still got to live. We still got to find our happiness. So what are some purchases that can really be an investment for women right now that you like, that feel good, and that will actually maybe help you make more or do better financially?
Okay. The thing that I think people should invest in is protecting their future happiness. We've already talked about that. I'm not going to talk about it again.
Okay.
But
I do
that's
wanna
the
talk about
one
it.
that I feel the most strongly about, because future you also deserves to have lots of opportunities to be very happy and to live her best life. Like if you're going to retire, like Cher, in like sequin underwear and stuff, because that's how I picture my retirement. That woman needs money. So please also, when we're talking about cutting back on savings, please also try to keep up with putting some money away for the future. But according to science, I'm not going to say what Melissa Leong buys to make herself happy, because we're all different. Personal finance is personal. But this is what the research says that you should buy in order to be happy. And there are many things, but I'm just going to talk about 3. So the first one is, this one's a big one for women, I think. Time savers, because you carry the mental load. You have so much going on. You're trying to do everything. That's why on Mother's Day, I basically flipped everybody the bird and said, I'm going to do whatever I want with my time. So people who value time over money, according to research, they're happier, and you can actually make yourself happier by starting to value your time. That means, this sounds counterintuitive sometimes, but that means not taking the job that pays a little bit more money, but means that you're commuting an extra hour. That means you're going to be putting in extra weekends, because you're also valuing your time. That means not driving around trying to save a few cents on gas, or not waiting in line to get a free popsicle, which I've totally done. It just means that your time is important. Maybe you can hire somebody to do the lawn work, and then you will use that time to think of your business, something that you think is more valuable, because time is precious. Like you said something to me earlier where you said, you're working so hard right now, but you're also working so hard right now. You're using the time that we have, the limited time that we have. Hopefully you're going to keep some of that money so you can buy that time back. That's why we're doing it, right? We have to buy that time back. So save it. Otherwise, you have no money to buy that time back in the future. So the second one is experiences. This is obviously huge. Many people and companies have gotten on board the buy experiences. That's why when you buy physical products now, it usually comes with some sort of experience, like unboxing or something like that. But for you, when in a study of people who got a windfall of cash, they spent 40% of it on experiences. And these were really happy people. So, experiences pay dividends, because you have the memories, you have, it expands the way you experience joy, because maybe you've got new skills as well. And when you think about material goods, you usually enjoy them alone, unless you're passing the jeans around to all of your girlfriends. But while in experience, you're bonded to other people. That usually makes people happier. And then finally, do it all. Okay, I'll add an extra one. Charity. Spending your money on other people makes you happier. Worldwide surveys show that whether you're rich, whether you're poor, if you spend money on other people, you're going to be happier. And that doesn't just mean necessarily charities that you care about and being intentional about it, not just saying like, oh, there's a random GoFundMe, I'll give it to this, but being intentional, saying these are the things that I think will make the world a better place. I'm going to set aside this amount of money and I'm going to give it this year. But also your friends, treating your friends. I love to treat my friends. That's the only place where I'm not super cheap. I will spend my money on
I'm
my
your friend, Melissa.
Yes, you are.
We're headed out for a date after this, guys.
And you know what? If I've done the work where I have set aside money for all of the things that I care about, like emergency fund, like retirement, like my kids' RESP, like whatever. I've actually already did the planning, because I looked at my money situation, got clarity, and just, sort of siphoned money out of my bank account to all of those priorities. I also siphoned money out into a separate account. That's my so-called spending account, which is this the amount of money that I have that I'm literally blowing on whatever I want. And that means you and I are going for dinner, because my spending account says I get to blow it on us. Yay.
Yeah, and also it allows you to be like, okay, you know what? I can't spend right now because I have other buckets to fill. Meanwhile, most of us are just doing the opposite, right? We're not looking at the other buckets and just throwing money
Yes,
at.
I filled my other buckets first.
Yeah.
which is
Very
why those
important.
automatic deductions
Yes,
were so
that's
meaningful.
key.
I needed that because as a people pleaser and as somebody who is just overly self-sacrificing, I needed to give myself permission to spend the money. That's why I built that. This is, again, personal finance, me
Yeah.
looking at me and how I want to build my life. And Melissa, treat yourself, So that's where that came.
That's great.
And then the last one I'm going to say
It's
is
the bonus.
yeah. They have to be treats.
Okay.
You have to make something a treat,
Okay.
which means you pay for something first, you enjoy it later because you need the anticipation.
Okay. give me
Sometimes we just
example.
buy something in the moment but you're missing out on all that glorious anticipation, which is actually part of the happiness. So if you plan a trip, guess what? You just spent 6 months writing your girlfriends, oh my gosh, check out this itinerary I made. And so-and-so's going to send me a picture of a hat she bought because she's ready for the beach. You need to build up to it. So if you pay for something, enjoy it later.
Is that why vacations are like make you feel super happy because you're just anticipating, planning, you're just in a happy mode for a long time.
People are happy before and during, and then people are happier before and during than they are after, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
looking
It's
forward
true.
to it, right? There's so much enjoyment that you're missing out on.
Yeah.
And so that's why people are like, oh, we're going to make it a surprise. I'm like, no, don't surprise me. I want the glorious anticipation, right? The happiness that precedes. And also, again, with the hedonic treadmill, if you have your favorite chocolate every single day for a year, it's probably not your favorite chocolate anymore. So you want to make it a treat. If you're going to spend the money on it, you could be like, oh, like a week from now, I'm going to have it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
You want to make it special.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they had, there was a study that they said, okay, everybody right now, picture your celebrity crush. How much money would you pay to kiss this person? Immediately? A day from now? 3 days? A week from now? People were willing to pay the most. Yes. When?
Of course. Like a week from now.
It was actually 3 days.
Oh,
3 days.
was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they didn't want to
that's
do it
too long.
immediately. A week maybe was too long, but 3 days gave you time to anticipate, brush your teeth, pick an outfit,
Psychology.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so ladies, now you know what you can spend money on that's actually going to bring you happiness and joy. I want to ask you this is totally separate. How was it meeting Drew Barrymore? How was that experience for you?
She's lovely. She's
Yeah.
like a genuine human being. So
Yeah.
when you meet people who make you feel safe, that's such a treat.
Yeah.
And I've had that experience many times with people in TV where
That's amazing. That's good to hear.
it's beautiful. The very, very first time I was on Your Morning, I sat down, and this was before Marcy Ian was on The Social. She sat down in front of me, and she reached over and she grabbed my hand, and she looked me in the eyes, and she said, "You're going to be great." And I thought, I was speechless. I thought, don't do this to me now. I'm going to cry.
Yeah, just
before my
tears.
segment. But it was such a genuine moment, and she's such a genuine human being that I've really appreciated the moments where women can have grace for other women, and that's why I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be on your podcast, because I know you
too.
are one of
Me
those
too.
women who
Me
want to lift up
too.
other women. So
I
thank
feel
you
the
for doing
same
this,
way.
and thank
I
you for
do.
having me.
What's next for you?
I'm working on a children's book right now. It's going to be published by Kids Can Press. It's a character that's very near and dear to my heart. She is, maybe it's autobiographical. She's a little frugal. She's going to learn, it's about a bird who learns what is valuable to spend money on.
And everyone can find you where?
Oh, I'm terrible on social media. There's too many.
She's actually really great at social media and the stuff that you really like. Every time I watch your stories, like I said, it's the same sentiment I feel now. Just a little piece of me doesn't, it's beautiful that you're on TV and making the impact, but that's not all of you. And I love that about you. And I feel that here too. So
No, I can only manage Instagram. Yeah, if you write me in anywhere else, like on LinkedIn,
Okay.
I'll find your message months later and apologize. I should just have an auto apology.
that's
So
because we're
sorry.
millennials.
Just-
One platform. That's it.
But find me on Instagram. I will reply right away.
Okay. Last question for you. What is a wealthy life for Melissa?
Choice. The freedom to choose what I do with my time, whether that's pursue health for myself, whether that's to spend time with my kids. That's all we really want is we want to decide. And money helps you have the space and the freedom to decide with your life.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today.